Hello and welcome back to the News Project Live on GNAT-TV or GNAT-TV's Facebook page. I'm Andrew McKeever, the news director at GNAT-TV's News Project, and it's a pleasure to have you with us again today, Friday, December 11th. Got a few stories to get to here just to bring you up to speed on what's been going on. We're going to start with town meeting. Town meeting, of course, isn't going to be happening for another, 3 months or so in early March, but already many local municipalities are trying to decide how they're going to handle town meeting given the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and restrictions around crowds of people gathering. Obviously, that it makes the traditional floor meeting that's such a centerpiece of so many of our local town meetings a bit problematic, to say the least. So a couple of towns have already, where the select boards have already decided to make a few adjustments. Legislation that was passed earlier this year by the state legislature enabled the local select boards to mail out ballots, conduct voting by Australian ballot. And some have already decided to do that. Manchester's select board at its most recent meeting on Tuesday decided to plan a town meeting that has everything on the everything will be voted on by Australian ballot. Arlington select board also is going down that road as well, as is the Shaftesbury select board. And it wouldn't be surprising to see many others basically opting into a scenario whereby all the town's business that would normally be voted on off a floor meeting by a show of hands or whatever will be done by Australia ballot. So we wouldn't have to have the traditional floor meeting, but that of course raises the question of how would people get information about what they're voting on. So while it's not clear yet exactly how that will be done, a lot of towns apparently are already considering doing that by a Zoom meeting, have an informational meeting where they would present their budgets and talk about the various articles on the town warning and give the information there. And presumably there would be an opportunity for two-way interaction between members of the audience to ask questions of the select board members or school directors as to why they are proposing to do one thing or another, or how they feel about some of the special articles. So all quite fascinating in many ways. And we are also going to be doing a little short news segment that should be ready early next week on this subject. We had a chance to talk to Representative John Gannon, who is a representative from Wilmington. He is the vice chairman of the House of Representatives Government Operations Committee, and he walked us through some of the ideas that the legislature is considering. And obviously, this is legislation that they will need to pass extremely quickly once they reconvene. I believe on January 5th is when the legislature gets back to work in Montpelier, although remotely. As I said already, select boards can decide whether or not to hold town meetings by Australian ballot, but the new bill would allow towns to move the date of their town meeting until later in the year. It doesn't have to be in March. They could move it maybe a couple of months into the spring when the weather might be warmer, and theoretically the meeting could even be held outdoors. Weather, of course, in Vermont in April and May can still be a little bit on the uncertain side, but that apparently is one option that's under consideration. And and perhaps more centrally, also is the bill is considering whether to give towns the option to mail out their town ballots. And just because we're going to have an Australian ballot doesn't necessarily mean you would get the ballot in the mail like we had with the primary election back in August and the general election in November. But that is under consideration. And of course, one question would be, does the state pay for that, or would the local municipality have to pay for it? So we don't know the answer to that question just yet. But Representative Gannon did say that there could be state money available for this. Then that bill that they are crafting, and he said was very narrowly focused around the particular issues involved in this, because it's really important. Timing is critical. By mid-January, most towns have to have basically decided on their budgets, and the town warnings need to be sent to printers. So they don't have a whole lot of time to get this done. So they're trying to do a very narrow, streamlined bill that would just focus on the things that they really need. And that bill would also authorize the Secretary of State to help out municipalities to make these changes if they needed additional resources. Let me just say also that if you want to get more information about this and a couple of the other pieces we'll be talking about in a minute, you can go to the comments section here on our page, where we'll be posting links to resources where you can get some more information on it, just to kind of fill in the gaps, because there's a lot to consider with all of this. It's really quite a fascinating subject, really. At least I find it so, anyhow. I mean, one of the issues we've heard a lot about in recent years has been, declining attendance at the traditional floor meeting. Is this an idea that it just makes it's just too hard for enough folks to kind of get to a Monday evening town floor meeting, or in the case of Manchester, on Saturday afternoon. Makes you wonder if this points the way towards one way where perhaps at some point in the future we might be able to get more people attending virtually. I don't know. Something to think about anyway. So let's see. So that will apply also obviously to school districts as well as to municipalities, and we'll certainly be keeping tuned in on that. And like I said, we'll have a little small segment ready to go next week that'll kind of discuss that a little bit further. Meanwhile, of course, today the governor had his regular Friday morning press conference, and as usual, the COVID update was the main center of discussion. The governor announced that they were still not ready to authorize allowing schools to restart team sports. But most of the questions and the discussion had to do with the hoped for and imminent arrival of the new vaccines that are getting approval by the FDA, Federal Drug Administration, Food and Drug Administration, excuse me. That approval of the Pfizer vaccine apparently is expected very soon, and the governor and other state officials who spoke said that the state's ready for the distribution. First doses are expected to arrive sometime next week, but how many they would be getting in the first wave of these, the distribution is still not known. We do know that the head of the Vermont Veterans Home in Bennington says they're expecting to get some of the vaccines early. And since health workers and folks in long-term healthcare facilities are going to be first in line for these vaccines, and it's important to note, I'm sure you've all already heard this, but really critical to remember that this is a two-shot process. You just don't go in once and get your vaccine shot. You have to come back. You're going to have to come back again in about 3 weeks, I think, to get a second one in order for it to, work. And the other X factor here is that apparently there are some side effects to that first dose that some people may react not very well to it. You may start to feel a little sick or whatever, because essentially your body is getting a mini dose of COVID, and your antibodies will then build a resistance to it. But it's not going to be the same experience as getting your typical flu vaccine. So I think there's a lot of messaging that still needs to go out around that, because it's easy to imagine people deciding one shot was plenty and I'm not going back for number two, but you're kind of wasting your time if you just do that. So anyway, otherwise, the numbers that were released today, let's see here, 113 new cases reported yesterday, 26 folks in Vermont around the state in the hospital, and 2 of them are in the ICUs. The number of deaths is now up to 93 since last March. Basically, they also talked about the Thanksgiving, assessed the Thanksgiving experience. Of course, we heard a lot about how, it was unwise for folks to gather in large groups or large family gatherings. Looks like most Vermonters kind of paid attention to that. There doesn't seem to have been a big spike in new cases. Now it's been 2 weeks since Thanksgiving. If we were going to see a big jump based around large family gatherings at Thanksgiving, it probably would have shown up by now, but that doesn't seem to have been the case. So more testing sites are also coming online, more capacity for testing. There were more than 34,500 tests performed last week. Total number of people tested across the state now is up to 238,510. But as the governor said, still too many days with cases of more than 100 folks or more coming down with new positive identification. So way too premature to let our guard down now. One other thing. We just got this in shortly before we went on air. The Arlington School District is apparently considering changing its vacation schedule. Superintendent Bill Basic there has sent out an email saying he's highly anticipating, as he put it, changing the current winter breaks from December 18th to January 4th. That was the original schedule, and bumping that back a week, making the winter break from December 23rd through January 11th. So that would mean kids in Arlington would still be attending school on December 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And then school would shut down again until January 11th. I guess this is something that's under consideration, but folks in Arlington who have students at the school might just want to be aware of that and see what the school board decides to do. Just sort of on the lighter side, to kind of wind things down here, Maxine Linehan, a very well-known vocalist who lives in our area, done a number of shows around here last couple of years, has released a new album of holiday music. It's called This Time of Year. And we also have a little segment out about that. You can hear more about it from her. It's more than just a collection of Christmas tunes. I can tell you that much. It is available for streaming and downloading on most music platforms. It kind of gets into the spirit and the emotion of the holidays, but from all sides. And I think this year in particular, I guess so much going on that it seemed like a good year to put out an album like this. And all I can say is downloaded it myself a couple of days ago, listened to it several times, and it's really great music. But what else would you expect from Maxine Linehan? We're also going to be doing a little story about Cooper, the happiness officer at the Equinox Hotel. Cooper is a therapy dog. That is his main job is to welcome guests and kind of bump up the Christmas spirit. He'll be available for taking photos with him, and the funds will go to benefit the Second Chance Animal Shelter in Arlington. So stay tuned for that. Should be fun. Looking forward to doing the interview with Cooper. Just wanted to say one other thing before we go. We are also starting a small little series of discussion pieces on GNAT with as many folks as I can think of that I want to talk to about what are our takeaways or lessons learned from the whole pandemic experience now at getting on to 8-9 months. You could look at all of this as an opportunity to kind of rebuild things in a better way, to improve things that maybe weren't working quite as well as they should have. I know we're all kind of nostalgic to get back to normal, but maybe there were some aspects of the old normal that could handle a little bit of an upgrade. So we have one segment out already with Edward Cameron, who's a well-known climate consultant, lives here in the area. The Secretary of Education, Daniel French, and Violet Gannon, who's the Executive Director of the Manchester Community Library. We talked to all three of them about what they saw as the, as I say, lessons learned from the whole experience, and what do they see coming out of this? Remote working, for instance, is that going to be a thing that's going to be a kind of a regular feature of life in the new normal we're all looking forward to in 2021? I just finished doing a second one with Bill Colvin, who's with the Bennington County Regional Commission. He's the assistant director there. Also with Jim Condos, the Secretary of State. Obviously, we talked a lot about the elections in that one. And Alexandra Tranmer, who is a economic development consultant with Camoin Associates, who's worked closely with the BCRC on a couple of projects. So we'll hear more from them, and also a third one planned with some folks from Windham County. Chris Campany, who is the executive director of the Windham County Regional Commission. Adam Grenold, who is the executive director of the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, and Sarah Lang, who's the head of the Vermont Economy Project. We'll be getting together with them in about 2 weeks, I think, and hearing from them about what they think are the main takeaways and opportunities created. And hopefully we'll hear from many more. Anyway, that'll do it for today. This is also going to be the last News Project Live we'll be doing for a couple of weeks because of vacation scheduling. We'll be coming back to you next time on January 8th, that Friday, I guess the second Friday in the new year. And of course, we're all looking forward to the arrival of a new year. So meanwhile, have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas and everything else, and only a couple more weeks to go and 2020 is over. Anyway, thank you for being with us. This has been Andrew McKeever, the News Project, GNAT-TV. Hope you enjoyed our little update, and we'll see you again in the new year. Take care, everybody, and be safe.